Oh man.
This is ridiculous, isn't it? Just thinking, because it's the 1st of June. Got married with Hyunji on the 2nd of February 2018. Hyunji and I were saying, she said, oh, we feel really bad because we literally completely missed our anniversary. UK wedding was on the 25th of May. So Hyunji said, oh, well, let's just celebrate in May then. We'll obviously remember when it comes round.
Easy.
And then now it's the 1st of June and I just remembered.
Well, you know what, like, G basically told me that the date that we started dating, the official date where I took her up to Bukhansan. So I actually asked her out before that and she said I had to do it properly because she had fish in her mouth. So I took her all the way out to Bukhansan and I was like, will you be my girlfriend? And she said the date was, crap, can't remember what, wait, what month are we in? Let's call it, yeah, so she said it was the 9th of May, ish. And we were gonna go to Muido for like, to see the beach and stuff. And she rang me up and she goes, babe, I've completely got the date wrong. It's not even our anniversary today. It's like in 5 days time. I was like, you know. But I get that. I can get the complications of love, of which there are many, apparently.
There's definitely more important things than remembering the date.
Yeah. Here's a question, Dan.
Yeah.
There's a lot of videos out there that talk about people who are in like kind of interracial, I think that's the terminology, interracial relationships.
Yeah.
I guess it is intercultural. Yeah.
I should say 국제결혼, international marriage. But it kind of makes it sound like the marriage is taking place like internationally, rather than it's between people from different countries. But I don't see my wife's identity, or I don't see who my wife is to me first and foremost as like a Korean from this place or from this group or who does this job. I see her as the woman that I love, that I'm married to.
Sure.
So with Hyunji, it's like the fact that she's Korean isn't this really important thing for me, but I love the fact that she's Korean at the same time. The fact that she's not British and the fact that it is like a 국제결혼.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing, but it's also not like primary or it's not a key for me.
Yeah, would you say it's like, it's been a really interesting process like dating G, because we've kind of been going through this book more lately on kind of like what is marriage. In this book it said, my wife's been married to 25 different people. And I was like, what? What? And then he goes, and all of them are me. And it's like, we change. And already in dating, I found that like dating's really changed me, you know?
Yeah. I've noticed that with you.
Really?
Even, yeah.
For me, G is Korean but grew up in the Philippines.
Right.
I'll say things, you know, she might not get exactly what I'm saying. In fact, when we first met, like, I used to speak to her in a very kind of like international accent. And then one time I picked up the phone. I'm like, what then? And she goes, oh, who's this? Who's Dan? Who's Alex? Who's this? She thought we were playing around. I was like, no. I was like, babe, it's me. It's me.
It's me.
And she goes, what's happened to your voice? And I'm like,
I've been taking too many old silvers.
I put on the old silvers. But like, I was like, crap. I realised I've known you for like, I think at that moment it was like a month or two. She hadn't heard my real accent. It's like somehow I'd hidden it from her.
Yeah, and you're doing it subconsciously as well most of the time, right?
Yeah. As a British person, we're not very direct.
Yeah. Right.
And it's like, I'm terribly sorry, but if you can, would you possibly be able to, I hope I don't put you out. You know, I'm apologising before I've even asked you. Most of the time it's like, what the hell you want to ask me?
That's why it takes us like 10 minutes to call a takeaway and make an order, whereas in Korea it takes like 15 seconds.
It's interesting, like in a relationship dynamic with someone who's, you know, in some ways Korean, in some ways, you know, has that kind of heritage, but in some ways very Filipino, in some ways it's very international.
Yeah, and then it's her as well, right? It's like uniquely her.
Exactly, and then it's that's the other thing. Is then it's uniquely G.
Yeah.
And it's like these moments where I'm like, are you being passive aggressive, or are you just being direct?
Yeah.
I'm adding meaning.
I don't want to make a stereotype, but you can always say, you know, two cultural groups in different countries are like very different, right? And then you can come up with these kind of examples. But actually, like, I think sort of statistically, there are bigger differences within the group than there are between the groups.
Right.
Or there are just as big differences. So I noticed, like, when I had a lot of friends from Seoul, and then I met Hyunji and all her friends, the dynamic between me and her friends meeting at the time was completely different to when I met friends from Seoul.
Because she's from Ulsan.
She's from Ulsan, so she's from Gyeongnam, like Gyeongsangnam-do. They would speak Hanmal to me when they first met me, and they were just so chilled. But they also, when I met them, they didn't go, 와, 한국말 진짜 잘한다. They just talked to me. There was no like, pretense or like, oh, we need to make some
That
compliment.
in and of itself is very cultural. It's very like,
Right.
like here's a foreign guy speaking Korean.
Right.
We have to tell him his Korean's good.
Right.
You know, because we're not saying your Korean's good. We're just saying thank you for learning our language. Thank you for having interest in us.
And it's like a way of, I need to make statements to like create positivity between us. We'll be around the table, we're sitting on the floor. You know how uncomfortable I am on the floor, right? Myeongdo, like national holiday type vibes. And I'm just trying to...
Oh my gosh, that in and of itself must be a bit...
Yeah, exactly. And we're making, you know, yukjeon. And I'll just try to say something that is my input into a conversation. Right. Because they're all speaking this strong dialect. But I'll make like an aje cake, right? It's like a dad joke that's a really light-hearted and very unoffensive, so that people would generally be like, you know, and then move on. And Hyunji's brother would be like, her older brother would just be like, 재미없다 단, or something like that. He would just like...
So he's the same as basic.
He would just say it like straight. Almost like, no, don't do those jokes. Like, no need for those jokes.
Oh, wow. No, like you've never said that to me.
No.
I don't know if I've ever said that to you.
No.
Like, it's not like innately wrong. It's just like so culturally.
Right. I said to Hyunji about that with her brother.
Yeah.
And she was like, because he feels so comfortable with you and he like loves you and he just wants to not mess around by like pretending he finds something funny that he doesn't.
Right.
As soon as you're like put it down to the region or the culture or the country, you take the bad things people do and you excuse them, and you take the good things people do and you like rob them of like the agency of doing that.
That's such a...
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Even when you can speak a language, you've got to understand what that means.
Yeah, that's
so, it's
so
like,
good. Yeah.
It's not just
Yeah.
I say these words.
Yeah.
What do you mean when you say those words?
Yeah. Right. I've heard stories, and you know, this is again a cultural generalization. I actually taught a girl English, and she was dating this British guy, and her parents just said, "You can't go out with him because he's not Korean." When Hyunji's dad, especially, first heard that she was dating a foreigner, they were like, he was like, you know, "정신이 나갔나" and all this kind of stuff. But the fact that they've accepted me, and obviously it's partly to do with the language stuff. There's not a cultural right answer to that, because some parents in Korea arbitrarily are like, we're not going to accept that, and some do, and so even just that, sometimes I have to go back to that to be like, wow, even that is like a real blessing.
Yeah.
But
it's funny. You've learned. I think this is an interesting thing as well. You've not only learned, you know, you lived here for a year in Seoul, and you learned Seoul, Mal, and then you're dating a girl from, in some ways, almost a different country. And so like you're not only coming into that with this kind of I know Korean culture, but it's like everything you know about Korean culture has now become different because it's a dialect, it's a regional culture.
Yeah.
Massive.
That's the beautiful thing, isn't it? Because then it's like, do I want to live in Korea and kind of love Korea because I have this like vague romantic idea of like this country and what a country is and what a culture is? Or is it because there's like specific people in my life who love me and I love and we're able to build like a lovely relationship? And I think, wow, with that then you could probably live in any country.
Wow.
And Korea has beautiful things about it as a culture and as a country in general, but it's for me it's those things, right? It's like if I couldn't get on with Hyunji's parents or like had a bad relationship with my wife, I'd probably struggle in Korea, right? However much I say I love Korea, I love Korean food, right? It comes down to that sort of stuff, right? Like more than anything else.
The individual, it's like that's the person you're married to for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
When you say I do, it's like
exactly.
sickness and in health.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really love my girlfriend.
You know, I feel like when a couple, even though there are certain cultural things you might struggle to get over, 소소한 것들, like trivial things, that can become more frustrating over time. Whereas the big things are sometimes a lot easier to 받아들이기 좀 더 편하고. But for us, it's not really cultural stuff, and it's more like, where are we at emotionally, where are we at physically, where are we at spiritually? And then you see if there's negative stuff, like, let's come out of that.
Yeah.
And that's really like a gift as well, to be able to analyse that, you know? Even like the honeymoon, the idea of going on holiday and like the honeymoon, we didn't have that. And just like stuff like that, I think is not essential, but if you can, it's like really important. Right?
To get to know each other, right?
Yeah. And like you're giving time to saying, I think this marriage is a gift to us. It's actually selfish to give time to other stuff over that in one sense as well.
Yeah. What I'm learning from your story a lot is essentially, you know, more than the cultural differences, which can be hard.
Yeah.
It can be confusing.
Yeah, definitely confusing.
It's like without a humble heart, without
Yeah.
you know, if you're prideful, you're never going to get through
Yeah.
the long journey. It doesn't matter if you're from Korea or if you're from you know, and your husband's from England.
Yeah. That's not what it's.
It's not that you know.
It's the heart.
Inside.
No, yeah.
That's beautiful, man. Yeah.
And then Ollie gave an amazing piece of advice the day that we got married on that Friday evening service when we went up to the Chadolbagi restaurant.
Yes.
And Ollie said, like, Dan, just to let you know, there'll be a lot of kind of noise, a lot of voices. There'll be a lot of voices telling you the objective ways to do marriage and these methods and formulas. And it's kind of like outside of the Bible, it's your marriage and you need to do it in the way that works for you guys. Yeah. But then you learn so much about your wife, like you said at the start.
Yeah.
Maybe you married 25 different people and they're not the person that you dated before you married. You learn that that's the standard of the person that you love. And that's a magical thing that's difficult to even like express, I think.
Already, like, there's so many times that I've been questioned on, man, even things of identity, where I'm like, I don't know, I see, obviously there's by being here in Korea, but then there's by being in this relationship, it's like this clash of culture where I'm like, I'm literally only doing that because I'm British. That's so much part of my identity. And it starts to strip me down. I realise actually I've been hiding under that. Yeah. Little moments where I'm like, actually I need that stripped from me. I need that, actually, I don't want to be that kind of British person. I just don't want to. But it's shaped my decisions, it's shaped the way I've lived, it's shaped what I've done.
Wow.
But is that the root of who I am? Don't even know. And honestly, I have Jude to thank for that. It's really shown that to me. There's something very special about that.
That's amazing, man. Wow. Maybe one day you guys will have your very own panban chicken.